can fly, then forever doesn't feel that far. So far, so far. If a baby brain can fly, fly on, fly on, fly on, fly on, fly on. Take a drag of my cigarette, breathe me out, breathe you in, yeah. Take a bite of my burger, babe, save the last bite for you, for you. Ooh. Don't let the street lights hit you all alone. You know it's dangerous to go alone. Don't let the street lights hit you. Could I be okay too? I'll follow wherever you go, whatever you do. Play it too, too. 7 years of the perfect love, 7 more and another one, and another one. I think you was the one I love. 7 wonders all in one, all in one. Don't let the street lights hit you all alone. You know it's dangerous to go alone. Don't let the street lights hit you. Could I be okay too? I'll follow wherever you go, whatever you do. Play it too, too. If a paper crane can fly, then barely doesn't feel that far. So far, so far. If a paper crane can fly, then forever doesn't feel that far. So far, so far. If a paper crane can fly, fly on, fly on, fly on, fly on, fly on. Walk slowly and talk slowly. You are.
It's better knowing how to fall than to stumble. Living on the line with the truth out there. I've seen you on the radar so many times. I don't wanna end up hiding. I don't wanna end up fighting. So if you're coming close when I need you the most, slow it down. Talk slowly and talk, yeah. Talk slowly. You are. Better move slowly. You are. Better move slowly. Better walk slowly and talk. Yeah. Talk slowly.
Like It or Not with Benjamin Dixon starts now.
Hey man, that's an amazing picture of you. Welcome to Like It or Not, where Gotta climb them there hills. We're gonna start out the gate, just being ignorant out the gate. Welcome to Like It or Not, where we're free to tell the truth and not care who doesn't like it. I'm Benjamin Dixon, one of your hosts. James, how you doing, man?
I'm good this morning, brother. How you doing, Ben?
Doing good. As you can tell, we have already engaged in the shenanigans. Our sister from another Mr. Rebecca Azor is going to be out today again. I know you all miss her. Right. I don't. Ain't nobody missing you, Rebecca. Stay gone. No, I'm joking.
Rebecca, we don't miss you, girl. Regardless of the text message we just sent, I don't miss you this stuff.
Yeah, all the text message love we've been sending you don't mean nothing. What we say on air is all that matters. Rebecca will be back tomorrow. Hashtag free Azor. Anyway.
Hashtag free Azor.
That's it. Man, what's going on with you, man? You were talking about, the stimulus packages are dropping. They've been dropping since Friday. They're not playing with this money.
Man, when I tell you not playing, I'm just thinking to myself, like, man, I ain't gonna get this check no time soon. I got that text message. We have received your direct deposit information and will be available shortly.
Man, I'm sitting here. I'm like, look, I said, I'm hoping that they are using my taxes from 2019, not 2020.
Not 20.
Because if they use 2020, I ain't getting nothing.
Man, they better run you your check, man.
Hey, shoot, look here. Hey, they gave all them billionaires and all those corporations all that bailout. They could send money to everybody else, but you know what they got? Means testing. If you make over a little bit of money, a little change, you ain't getting none this time. That's fine. But I'm glad everybody else. I hope everybody else is getting your stimulus packages. And matter of fact, do whatever you want to with it. Don't be like what Twitter, LLC Twitter saying you got to start a business.
Man, I bought a giraffe. In the backyard of my apartment complex.
Somebody said bump crab legs, they're gonna buy the ocean.
Yeah.
That's how LLC Twitter sounded right now. Like, so anyway, nah, man, it's good. I'm glad everybody is getting this. It's supposed to be $2,000, but you know what? We are at that place in America where people are, if you get anything at this point, it's helpful. If you get anything
exactly.
At this point, you're lucky, and that's not a good statement. That's just a reality of what this country actually is. So that said, we got a couple of guests lined up this morning. I'm super excited about having them come on. We're going to be talking with Dr. Nyasha Jr. and Brandon Brooks. They'll be coming on later on in this episode. In the meantime, we have a couple of stories that we want to get through. I want to start with a pick by Joe Biden that I'm actually excited about. On Monday, with the 51-40 vote, the Senate has confirmed Representative Deb Haaland as President Joe Biden's Secretary of the Department of the Interior, making her the first Native American to hold a spot in the White House cabinet in U.S. history. And this is a quote from Representative Haaland. She said, quote, "If an indigenous woman from humble beginnings can be confirmed as Secretary of the Interior, our country holds promise for everyone." So this is actually this is good news. This is one of the better picks by Joe Biden. And she is one of the picks that I feel, I was a Bernie Sanders supporter. Clearly, everyone knows that. I think this might have been one of the few picks that Bernie Sanders himself would have selected. And it's been championed and heralded across social media. I think it's really a sad testament to the fact that we're still in the era of firsts. She being the first Native American to be appointed to a cabinet position really speaks to how far we have not come in this country. It does show progress. It does show that there is a path forward, especially with some of the policies that I believe that she's going to bring to the Department of the Interior. I feel that she is going to be on the right side of the issues. The real question is, to what extent will she be allowed to stretch her legs, so to speak, and actually implement policies that she believes in versus policies that are being handed down. This is the thing, handed down from the Biden administration. Let me finish that thought. This is the thing. A lot of times in this country, regardless of politics, media, or entertainment, what I've come to learn is that you have two types of representation that is wanted by the leadership of this country. the powerful, the ruling elite of this country. They want you because of your ethnicity, your skin color, your gender, your orientation. So they want that face. But a lot of times they don't want what that voice actually says. And so the real question remains is to what extent will Representative Haaland and now Secretary Haaland be able to implement policies that she believes in versus just carrying out the agenda of Joe Biden, particularly where they disagree. Now, she serves at the pleasure of the president, so she ultimately is going to be beholden to the president of the United States. But it does present an opportunity for a progressive challenge from the left on policies that otherwise would not have been challenged. And so while representation is insufficient, it does bode well for this country to have someone in that position who will absolutely, at a minimum, voice what she really believes and will fight for what she really believes. Even at the end of the day, she still serves at the pleasure of the presidency. And James, I was thinking, as just discussing this, I don't know how many times you've been in positions where people want your face, they want your identity, but they don't really want to hear what you got to say. You know what I mean? Have you ever? Because I run into that all the time. Have you ever run into that?
With jobs all the time. You know,
Yeah.
big black man. Yeah. Let's make
Yeah.
him the face of it. Okay, cool.
Right.
But I got some ideas and some input, so don't get it twisted.
No, we don't want.
So
no, we just want your face. We don't want that.
We just want your face. You know, that's
Right.
it. It was like, okay, Instagram
Yeah, you can find my
wants you
face
to be
on
a
Instagram.
brand ambassador, but we don't want to pay you for anything. We just want you to. We just want your face. We don't care about your input. Okay, that's fine.
Right.
I won't do it.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I've run into that. I really came to grips with that reality in this media space because early on in doing this, with all the other companies I try to work with and work for and try to help, build or whatever, it became really transparent that people absolutely loved Ben Dixon until Ben Dixon actually said what he had to say. And people absolutely love having a black voice until that black voice says something that they want to say, and so I realized really early on that representation is not enough. It's, are you going to listen to people? And unfortunately, 9 times out of 10, it didn't matter whether it was because all I worked for were progressives, quote unquote progressives. It doesn't matter whether they're conservative, centrist, or progressive. At the end of the day, people, when people give you, I guess you can call it an opportunity. I'm a little hesitant to call it that. But when people give you a platform, we could say that. When people give you a platform, they don't want your voice. They just want your face. And they want your face to say the things that they want said. So it's like they want to hear it out of your mouth because, you're a black dude. So great. It's great. Ben is out here talking all this class critique and all this socialism stuff that I always talk about. They want to hear that because it aligns perfectly with them. But as soon as I have to say something that goes outside the grain, then you get tremendous pushback to the point of now you become an enemy. So I don't think that it's going to play out that dramatically with Secretary Haaland. I think that she is going to be afforded the opportunity to stretch her legs and implement policies that she believes in to a degree. And I think the real question is where does that conflict actually come in? I think that above anything else, the place where she will disagree with Joe Biden, even in silence, because she serves at the pleasure of the president, which means he could replace her at any moment. I think the real analysis is going to be in the places where they quietly disagree because we're not going to hear about it because obviously she's going to do what the president says. So I definitely am excited about that appointment, but I absolutely want to see how it plays out in the long run. That said, I want to move over to some hypocrisy and bigotry that we always get from the Republican Party and, quite frankly, from America in general. On Monday afternoon, Republican House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy appeared on Fox News to make claims that people on the terrorist watch list from Yemen, Iran, and Turkey are being caught at the U.S.-Mexico border. Let's take a quick look at this clip.
From Mexico or Honduras or El
more
And when you go up
hypocrisy.
to Monument 3 and you talk to those agents, it's not just people from Mexico or Honduras or El Salvador. They're now finding people from Yemen, Iran, Turkey, people on the terrorist watch list they are catching, and they're rushing it all at once. And when you go up to Monument 3 and you talk to those agents,
So here's the thing about this clip that is, I mean, obvious to everyone else. There's absolutely, first and foremost, there's no evidence to substantiate this claim. This is what conservatives generally do, particularly when they get an opportunity to speak in a way that is xenophobic and in a way that is or a part of the culture wars or anything that they can use to scare people. This is a high-ranking official of the United States, and he is using his voice and his platform to fearmonger in a way that is not only detrimental to the people he's targeting, it's detrimental to this country. He is doing, and it's not to make a mountain out of a molehill, but really consider what he's saying. He's trying to make everyone terrified of the idea. It's twofold, that at our border, there is a crisis that is allowing quote unquote terrorists into the country. Standard talking point that Republicans have used to increase funding down at the border, to increase our military presence at the border, but also standard language that's used to further the oppression of people who are seeking asylum in this country. Asylum from countries that are generally undermined by America's foreign policy. The reason they're coming here is because America had a hand in the destabilization of their own nations, but I digress. The point is that this is the next move of the Republican Party, or a continuation of their strategy that they tamped down on during the Trump administration. During the Trump administration, they didn't have to have an excuse to try to scare the American people into doing things at the border because they had Donald Trump in the White House. And now that they don't have Donald Trump in the White House, they've gone back to their original playbook, which is we should be afraid of the people who are trying to come into the United States of America. We shouldn't be accountable for the things that we did to create the conditions from which people are seeking asylum. No, we should be terrified of them because they are potential terrorists. In addition to this, Republicans have actually doubled down on this level of bigotry because they are now even referring to the people who are coming across, to asylum seekers and immigrants, referring to them as carriers of the coronavirus, right? They are drawing an analog. They are drawing a direct comparison, which is 100% rooted in fascistic Nazi propaganda, tying an entire people to a plague, tying an entire people to a virus, comparing them and contrasting them with being the cause of the spread of this virus. But it also just speaks volumes about the level to which Republicans and conservatives in this country are willing to dehumanize an entire group of people for simple political wins. Nothing to be gained here. Nothing to be gained here except for scoring cheap political points. Yep. That's it. There's absolutely no win here for the House Minority Leader except for getting favor in the eyes of Donald Trump and the conservative movement, who wants us to fear the very people who are seeking asylum from the chaos that we created. That's number one. Number two, to tie in the Yemeni people who are already subjugated to one of the most horrific humanitarian crises in the history of our planet. And that humanitarian crisis is tied directly to the United States because of our partnership with Saudi Arabia. Those are our bombs that are being dropped. Those are our weapons that are being used. That is our validation of the blockades and the famine and the sheer horror that parents have to deal with every single day as they see their emaciated bodies of their children. That is the result of the United States, and Kevin McCarthy has the nerve to throw them in there just for good measure, because it's so easy to vilify people that you don't see every day. It's so easy to vilify a specific group of people that you don't see every day. Black and brown people. for him to throw in Iran for good measure, because of course everyone is terrified of Iran. Never mind the fact that the reason anyone should be afraid of anything, it should be Iran terrified of the United States of America, because we don't know. They don't know to what extent America is going to be able to hold on to any of their promises, any of the promises in the JCPOA, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. We reneged on that. We reneged on that. That was us. That was Donald Trump, the Trump administration, the United States of America, your tax dollars, my tax dollars. We reneged on that. But no, it's so easy to make people afraid of the big bad wolf, because the United States, if we're not good at anything else, we are absolutely fundamentally good at making people terrified of an entire group of people and using that fear to commit atrocities over and over and over again. And so while this clip is just a really short clip, it is a prelude to what this country dreams of doing. A huge portion of this country dreams, absolutely dreams, of vilifying entire groups of people, because we got to have a place to drop our weapons. We have to have a group to dehumanize. We have to be able to stretch our imperialistic legs across the globe. And what better way to do it than to make sure that we not only are terrified of people at our border, but we're also terrified of people who are victims of American imperialism, who are victims of our partnerships with Saudi Arabia, who are victims of the continued vilification of entire groups of people, because there's money, there's profit to be made in conflict, there's profit to be made in dehumanization, and there's profit to be made off the backs of the military industrial complex. With that, James, take us to a quick break. When we come back, we'll have more Like It or Not after this.
Good morning, good morning, good morning again, everyone. I hope y'all can hear me now. Hope y'all are having a good morning thus far. Shout out to everybody that's joining us, whatever platform you are streaming from. We're going to drop some of this good music stuff on y'all this morning. We're going to start off early, y'all.
Tell him I need my money right now. Brought me the juice, they stole out my crown.
Good morning, mother. I see you. Good morning, Sensation. I see you.
I'm gonna recoup, yeah. But don't waste my energy, my energy. I don't got much, don't be wasting all my energy. I keep it
Shut up, brother Chuck Diesel. How you doing this morning, sir?
Right, don't question my integrity. No, I thought we would be just fine. And I thought you
Anna Hart, good morning. Rebecca, good morning. We see you down there in the chat, girl. Starting trouble already. Just playing. Latif, good morning. Susan, good morning. Goku.
Yeah, I'ma go through just to grow through. But pay me what you owe me.
Good morning, Melanie.
About me. True, true. Tell them I need my money right now. Brought me the juice, they stole out my crown. Hey. Sorry to tell
Justice, I got you. I know exactly what song you're talking about. Good morning, Nessa.
I'm gonna recoup, yeah. Don't waste my loyalty, my
Nat A, good morning, Nat.
Because I couldn't see, but now it's
Mark
clear
S,
you
good
ain't
morning.
never
I see you,
been
sir.
true to me. My intuition ain't never lied, I had to leave. Handle your business, do what you think you need to do to get your revenge. But you won't break me, God as my witness. Past the point of no return.
Free Azor, free Azor. Bye, Rebecca.
Block my blessings, but no need for comparison.
Purple Rain Hearts. Right Church, wrong pew. Black Dragon, good morning, y'all.
Yeah, I'ma go through just to grow through. But pay me what you owe me for I make what you've been saying about me. True, true. Tell them I need my money right now.
Dude of 1969, good morning. Brother Nick, what's going on, sir?
Sorry to tell you, I know my value. I'm gonna recoup, yeah. Don't waste my.
when we used to be in love, and we thought that nothing could ever keep us from partying, leaving this
Jimmy, I appreciate that.
But now you're gone, and all I have is time. And though you're not here anymore, I still think about you. 'Cause baby, I didn't forget you. Hey, no,
Make sure that y'all hit the like button, share, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff, so you know what Like It or Not is going down, y'all. Make sure that y'all get it poppin', like it or not.
And I know we both made it.
I'm with Rebecca, free Haiti.
I saw you walking and talking with another guy, and I wish you happiness, but sometimes I wonder why after all this time.
And I told you I feel like going on stage to be in the Temptation.
'Cause baby, didn't forget you.
Shout out to everybody that's streaming on Twitch, Facebook, Twitter. Good morning, y'all.
Didn't forget you, baby.
Purple Ray Hearts, leave me alone. Me and my sit down dance.
After all this time, I'm still on my
Ain't got no room in here in this apartment, so I gotta sit down.
I'll never forget you, baby. Oh, I'll never forget you, baby. Oh, I'll never forget you. I'll never forget you, baby. It's Friday night and you are beautiful. Feelings magic. I am so lucky to be with you. 'Cause when it's been a rough day and I stare at the walls around
Purple Ray Hearts, you know my life. You know the song good because my face shows it all.
You're a believer in a life that's less dramatic. You're a believer in a world that's filled with magic. Let's go dancing till the sun comes up again. So many roads, so many avenues. Go where they take us. Such a thrill to ride with you. 'Cause when it's been a rough day.
Welcome back to Like It or Not, where we're free to tell the truth and not care who doesn't like it. I'm pleased to be joined at this point by Dr. Nyasha Jr., an associate professor of religion at Temple University and a visiting associate professor of women's studies and African American religion at Harvard Divinity School. She writes, teaches, and speaks, and frequently tweets on religion. And she's also the author of An Introduction to Womanist Biblical Interpretation, Reimagining Hagar, and Black Samson, the untold story of an American icon. Professor Jr., thank you so much for joining us.
Be here.
The pleasure is all ours. A lot of times on this show, because I come from a religious background, and the most interesting thing that I've encountered doing this work is that some of my biggest and longest time supporters are actually atheists. And one of the first things that I always try to have a conversation around religion over is the political implications of religion and why it is important to have these conversations and even this kind of critical analysis of religion because of the role that it plays in politics. Before we dig into some of your work, could you just speak to why someone who probably has no connection with any religion or any faith should be at least interested or at least have some attention paid to the intersection of religion and faith and politics?
Absolutely. This is a little bit of my first day lecture in Intro to Religion at Temple University. Part of it really is just that religion is part and parcel of our culture. And in many ways, we don't realize it a lot of times. We don't see all of the issues that are related to religion that are part of our everyday life. So religion affects who can get married. Religion affects how we discipline our children. Religion affects what we think should be taught in schools, how we treat each other. So even if one is not religious, it's still important to have an understanding of religion and varieties of religion, to understand the diversity of religious traditions. And again, that's something that I try to argue for with my students in taking religious studies classes. So in such classes, we're not teaching students to practice particular religions. What we're doing is trying to give them the tools to be able to understand religion better and to understand how it affects the world in which we live.
Mm. And to what extent would you say let's say some of your research and your focus, biblical studies, to what extent would you say that it is important then for people who are not of faith or people of faith to be able to have an interpretation or a vantage point of a particular religion through their own lens? And what I mean by that, obviously, for the audience is growing up as a Christian in this country, I always had to really struggle with a white supremacist interpretation of Christianity, especially growing up in Mississippi, and versus like a liberation interpretation of Christianity, being able to see my struggle through the text. To what extent do you feel like that is a critical tool to be able to wield?
I think it's important, but I think before we even get to that, one of the difficulties that I have when I'm teaching these kinds of classes is just getting students to be willing to talk about not only their own religious traditions, but to learn about others. So frequently students are from communities where to ask questions is not allowed. To have doubts is not permitted. And so really a lot of the time that I spend the first few weeks of class sometimes is just saying, it's okay in here. I realize that in your home communities, these may not be acceptable questions, but in here, it's okay to say, but these two things don't match up, or these two texts contradict each other. So a lot of it really is just laying the groundwork for someone to say, you know, I do have questions about this.
I think that's actually it's such a critical point to be able to, because we're always taught, don't question God, right? And when they say don't question God, what they're saying a lot of times is don't question what you're reading in the text, despite you seeing the inherent contradictions. But I want to go
don't question authority as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Don't question authority.
Go ahead.
Don't question the teachings that we've given you. Just go along, get along, stay quiet. As you've mentioned, some of your friends and colleagues are atheists. Some of the best students, or at least students who perform the best academically in class, are students who are not part of a faith community, in large part because they are willing to ask questions.
I always say I had to, in my journey, I always have to explain to people of faith that I'm pretty sure God, if he's God, he can handle some questions, right? Because it has always been a structure of protecting authority, and that authority is actually usually systems, between white supremacist authority and patriarchal authority. So when they say don't question God, they're usually saying don't question me. And so I always have to circumvent them and say, okay, but I think God can handle some of these questions. I don't think I have a question there. I actually just kind of want to see what you think about people putting themselves in the place of God, saying don't question God.
I think that's where we have a situation that's rife for abuse. And it's difficult sometimes. I used to teach at Howard University at the School of Divinity. And in divinity classes, we have more in-depth conversations than we do in my undergraduate religion classes. But part of what I had to share with the students is that this is important work to do. That if you are a person who claims this religious tradition, it's important for you to do this work. If you are to be a leader in this position, to understand the work that we are doing here as crucial, that we're not here to confirm for you what you've already been taught or what you already believe, but really to take it to another level. But I also want to acknowledge that for many students, it's very scary. It's very scary to think that it's sort of a house of cards or Jenga these days, I suppose. For some people to begin that process of asking questions is very frightening because they're not sure where they will end up.
So my goodness, I was getting ready to go into Black Samson, and we'll get there, I promise. Do you feel it's you feel people are afraid to question their faith because at the bottom of it, they might have to make was it a Kierkegaard leap of faith, like I did, because after questioning my faith, there was nothing left but me saying, okay, well, I just want to be a Christian. I just want to be saved. And do you feel like people are terrified of having to make a decision? Because a lot of people put a tremendous investment into saying they have evidence. And if they start questioning, do you feel like they're afraid they might find out the contrary?
There are a lot of things behind it. So for some, asking questions may have financial repercussions. Can you still preach what you've been preaching? Can you still teach what you've been teaching? Can you still condemn the people you've been condemning? So for many people, it's a very frightening journey. And for some, that's why they just don't start. Let's not ask these questions. Let's not take these classes. Let's not engage in this way. Let's go with whatever we've been taught. We're just going to continue to do the same thing. And again, it means that it's ripe for abuse of power.
Yeah. And a lot of self-abuse as well. Because for me, I 100% grew up in the church. Actually even preached a little bit, thought I was going to be a preacher. But I found out very quickly that the traditional pulpit is generally not the place to forward questions that challenge people's faith, because the biggest pushback that I got with some of my messages was from the audience, was from parishioners who were like, number one, don't bring politics into the church. And I'm like, how, Sway? Because evangelicals do that every single Sunday. These are Black folks who said, don't bring politics into the church. And then the second group was like, don't, they don't even want to think about some of these questions about the existence of God or the evidence. So the biggest pushback I got was from the people in the audience, which is why I said, okay, I'm going to take my talents to South Beach and go to politics. What are your thoughts on that?
And also, you're a man. So imagine how it is for Black women in the pulpit.
If they even get a chance to get in the pulpit.
Exactly. Or to be ordained. Yeah. So there's a lot there. This is why I don't preach. I'm a teacher. I'm a professor. I stay in my lane.
I'm gonna stay in my politics lane too until I'm gonna go back and just ransack. Never mind. Let me get on focus here. because the conversation is actually opening up stuff in me that didn't expect this morning. Black Samson, the untold story of an American icon. I had a chance to read, and one of the things that jumped out to me were two things. One, you pointing out the significance of Samson as an image that people can look to, sort of along the lines of contrasting it with how we look at Moses. In the Black community, the Black faith tradition, anytime we think about liberation, we think of Moses. But in this book, you really presented Samson as a figure that had several tracks in terms of American history, how he is perceived and how he's portrayed. But one of those tracks is Samson can be looked at as a liberator from white supremacy. Could you talk about that very briefly?
Yes. So the book is Black Samson, The Untold Story of an American Icon. And I wrote it with my Temple University colleague, Jeremy Skipper, who's also a biblical scholar. The book is available in hardback, ebook, and audiobook wherever books are sold. So part of what we talk about in the book is how Samson is viewed in different ways. There's nothing in the biblical texts that identifies Samson clearly by skin tone. It mentions his being blinded, it mentions his hair, but one of the links that people make between Samson and the condition of enslaved Africans in particular is there's one text that mentions that the Philistines had bound him with fetters of brass, and he did grind in the prison house. So when Samson is captured by the Philistines and blinded, he is forced to labor for them. And this becomes a way that people make connections between Samson and enslaved Africans and later the plight of African Americans. To think of Samson as a liberator in part is due to the text, but is also due to his death. So in his death, he kills all of the Philistines, but some regard this as an act of resistance against his captors, while others think of this as kind of a foolish vendetta. So different intellectuals, artists, writers have talked about Samson as a deliverer figure and also as someone who has done something foolish that results in his own death.
One of the passages that I want to reference is the Black Samson of Brandywine. And there was a poem, actually not a poem, but a quote describing him. This was particularly a patriotic rendition of Black Samson, who stood up to avenge his massa from being killed by the British. And in the description, even in their describing of Black Samson, they use a particular phrase that jumped out. And I want to read it. It said, he came on looking this is your book quoting this passage, in very truth, like a demon from the fabled hell. This for massa, thundered the Negro, whirling his scythe around his head and cutting down red coat soldiers one by one, like wheat stubble in a harvest field. And then I read your footnote there. And in the footnote, it drew a direct connection to not only how Black Samson was portrayed as a demon during the Revolutionary War, but to how Michael Brown was described by Darren Wilson as the justification for shooting him because he described him as a demon. Could you speak to that connection and that consistency in how Blackness is portrayed?
Yes. So you're talking about Black Samson of Brandywine from Paul Laurence Dunbar in 1903. In this selection, as you point out, this issue of Samson being this hulking demonic figure, this is something that we see in the text. It's not the only way, not in the biblical text, but what we see in this selection. This connects with ways of thinking about Black men in particular as superhuman, having superhuman strength, of being unnatural. We see this not only in specific instances of police brutality, but we see it in school to prison pipeline with how young Black children are thought of as much older and are expected to behave as much older students. So this goes back a ways, this thinking of Black folks as creatures. I think it was in Vogue magazine where we saw the LeBron James holding, maybe it was Giselle, in the King Kong image. So this is something that's part of American culture and literature.
And it stood out to me because of the choice of word just came naturally to Darren Wilson, right? It's not as though he had any, I doubt that he had any historical context for the usage of that word. Maybe he did. Maybe he was a really prolific white supremacist police officer. But to what extent does this consistent dehumanization that you see and that you wrote about here in that particular passage, to what extent is it cultural? I'm just really fascinated with the very precise language. And I guess maybe demon is a common word that is used to describe things that you fear. But I'm wondering how consistently this trend persists over centuries without any connecting threads. If this is just something that is like a natural default when you begin the process of dehumanizing an entire group. I was speaking earlier about Kevin McCarthy and how he was vilifying the asylum seekers and immigrants at the border, and he's using standardized tropes of dehumanization. Is this what just happens? Like, do you go to a very specific language of dehumanizing an entire group of people, and then all of a sudden, as you're in that zone, you start thinking of things like demons and very consistent words that can go all the way back centuries?
It's part of a playbook, and it doesn't mean that people are thinking, let me make the right choice here of term to use. But it means that it's part of a pattern of dehumanization. And so as people are part of societies and cultures that use this language, that use this terminology, who are taught, who are trained to have these types of views, then it follows from there that one might use these kinds of terms in understanding whether it's a Black teenager, whether it is a person who's migrating across the border, that you use this kind of language in your dehumanization.
I want to shift
I'm
to.
so thrilled you're
sorry,
reading the footnotes.
Yeah. Well, I when I dig in deep. I want to ask you about Reimagining Hagar. I have not had a chance to read that book, but I did listen to one of your lectures around it. And one of the things that jumped out in that lecture, for those who may not know Hagar, but I'm sure you're much more efficient. Could you kind of just give a snapshot of who Hagar is and particularly how you framed her in that book?
Sure. So the second book I wrote is called Reimagining Hagar, Blackness and Bible. If you're familiar with Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, you might also be familiar with Abraham, Hagar, and Ishmael. So Hagar is Abraham's wife. She's an enslaved woman, and she is the mother of Ishmael. A lot of things happen, and long story short, Hagar and Ishmael are expelled from Abraham's house, and Isaac is the one who is going to inherit from Abraham. So although Ishmael is the first son, it is Isaac who is the son of the inheritance. Hagar and Ishmael are kicked out. God provides for them, but we don't hear about them in the text further. It becomes the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
And so in that particular lecture that you gave, you spoke to the fact that in the reading of the text, the actual biblical text, that God didn't hear Hagar. he heard Ishmael. And then in this particular moment, it was the desperation. They were on their journey away from being put out from Abraham's household, and in an act of desperation, she basically gave up. But it wasn't her tears and her cries that was heard; it was Ishmael's cries. Could you speak about that in context of well, speak about that for me?
You sure you don't want to preach?
I'm sure they don't want me.
Because it sounded like you were getting ready.
No. Well, you know what? Okay, let me instead of beating around the bush, I actually did preach this sermon one time, and it was called Ishmael will be blessed, and that's actually in the text where he said, "As for Ishmael, he will be blessed." And this was one of the first political sermons that I got major pushback on, because tying it to the Abrahamic faith, Islam. My question to the people was, why do we not have the same faith-filled, loving eye towards Islam as we do Judaism, when the Bible says that Ishmael will be blessed? So that's why I kind of want to see if you stop. You gonna come on now? You expose me. Ain't nobody exposed me on my show this much. But no, I'm really interested in not only the kind of patriarchal interpretation that I had even when I gave that sermon, but I did not notice that as it was written, that he paid attention to the man-child and not his mother.
Mm-hmm. So as I said, I'm a biblical scholar. I'm here to teach. So that's my lane. I stay in that lane. I'm not here to preach. But if I were teaching this, part of what I would do with a Bible study or with students is to walk through the text and ask them, what do you notice? So this is a way of getting folks to voice what they're seeing in the text rather than going just on what they've heard or what pastor said. So what you're pointing out here is that it's Ishmael through whom we have Islam and the connections to Islam. And many Christians are unaware of this. Hagar and Ishmael are basically written out of the text. We don't hear more about their story until we get to the funeral of the father later on. But many people are unaware of the importance of Islam. So one of the things that I would do in that situation is talk about how, as you point out, God hears Ishmael's voice and not Hagar's. For me, I'm going to stick at that point and not say, and this tells us such and such about God. Okay. Rather, I'm going to hold there and offer the opportunity for people to talk. So when I do that, what people then will share is their experiences of not being heard. Their experiences of feeling like God is not listening, their experiences of feeling that they're in the wilderness. And from that place, I'm not here to say, this is what it tells us about the character of God, but rather to talk about the text and to talk about how people have experienced these things, which for me has been much more powerful than trying to tell people, and this is what you should think, or this is what you should believe about the text. But as a biblical scholar, that's part of my function in working with people through the text. And it's really necessary to do that around the table, reading together, sharing together, rather than one person in the pulpit with the mic talking to an audience.
The power of conversation and stuff that is revealed through conversations is so much more powerful in my opinion, in my experience, than just being lectured to. And in fact, I now that you've said that, I've noticed that's what you've done in this conversation. You've actually set up things, and then lo and behold, I'm just spilling my guts more than I've spilled my guts on this show in 6 years. You've done that. One last question before I let you go. In terms of the interpretations then and the applications, what have you found in your teaching and your technique? What have you found many people, what are some of the conclusions that people come to, not in terms of a specific text, but in terms of their own individual journey, whether they were atheists, whether they were agnostic, whether they were religious? How do people's perceptions of faith change in that technique of conversation versus that technique of lecturing?
It's all over the place. So people have a lot of different responses. Sometimes by the end of the semester, students feel that they are more deeply rooted in their own religious tradition, that they understand it better, that they have some sense of historical context that they didn't have before, and they really appreciate that. Other students get to a point where they say, I just really don't know. This has fallen apart for me. I didn't know this is where we were going, and I'm confused. It's part of a journey. And one of the things that we try and stress with students is that we're not here with answers, but we're here to help you with questions. And as I said earlier, really a lot of my work is just getting people to the point of being willing to read carefully and to ask questions.
Wow. Professor Junior is an associate professor of religion at Temple University. Her latest book is Black Samson, the untold story of an American icon. I do recommend that everyone picks it up wherever they can. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
James, take us to a break before she exposes me anymore. Please put on some trap music or something, man.
She exposed you, brother. Brother Ben, I just put in chat, Brother Ben, stay preaching, and I love it. Man, that was awesome. Oh my gosh. Professor Junior, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Make sure that you go pick up that book, y'all. It's called Black Samson. Make sure that you go pick that up, okay? Here's the song. Everybody has been requesting this and has been blowing the chat up. So, light ahead. Here you go.
I could really use a change of scenery. Yeah. Everybody smoking all the greenery. Yeah. Clothes and matches, they were handed down to me. But I'm still fly, I know. I'm still fly, let's go. It could all be worse, I could be a hater like you. It could all be worse. Clothes to make the man.
Got him right together, I love it.
From the inside out, so right now, say it with your chest now.
Sarah, good morning.
I'm free, can't nobody take me here and now. It's my time to ride it out. It's my time to ride it. I'm young, I'm free. Can't nobody take me here and now. It's my time to ride it out. It's my time to ride it out. It's my time. Oh. Cheers to all the haters, cause you proved to me that rising to the top was my destiny. And you can see whatever from behind me, but I'm still fly, I know. I'm still fly, let's go. It could all be worse, I could be a hater like you. It could all be worse. Who's to make the man, but that boy that's gonna.
Y'all better sing this in the chat room. I like that.
From the inside out, it's time.
Justice is called Still Fly by Revel. Still Fly by Revel.
Can't nobody take me here and now. It's my time to ride it out. It's my time to ride it. I'm young, I'm free. Can't nobody take me here and now.
Y'all make sure that y'all hit that like button. Y'all hit that like button. Hit that like button. Make sure that you comment, subscribe, share, all that good stuff, y'all. It's like it or not.
If you're on the bus, say yeah. If you're on the train, say yeah. Yeah. If you gotta walk, say yeah. Yeah. Everybody's going somewhere. Yeah. Young or old, I really don't care. Yeah. Life has never really been fair. Yeah. So put your fist up in the air. Yeah. Say yeah. I'm young, I'm free. Can't nobody take.
JL, we appreciate that super chat, man. I'm glad I can do what I can. That's what I love to do. Bring joy.
It's my time to ride it. I'm young, I'm free. Can't nobody take me here and now. It's my time to ride it out. It's my time, it's my time. It's my time to ride it out.
Kimberly Frazier, good morning.
Told you so extra, but I know I'm the same. Yeah. Love me in spite of my trauma. Give me what I need instead of the drama. Cause when it pop off, it's like, oh my, all good all day, but the night we be going so hard on the flip side. So tell me we'll be on a day, babe. I could keep that same energy. When you go low, I go low too. But you'd rather stay high, I know you. Can we stay high, babe?
Gail, thank you so much for that super chat, Gail.
Rather be on that way, trying to control our emotions. If we on a right side of passion, we could share love in the ocean. But if you wanna go,
James, man,
I already know, bro.
Shout out to Professor Junior. I've been doing this for a while, man, and I'm gonna be honest with you, because I watched a few of her lectures, and I kept wondering, like, I kept wanting for her opinion on the premises that she was setting up,
right?
And she rarely, if ever, gave them. And this morning I found out why. Because when you ask a question and you pose a question and you just let it be quiet, people pour their souls out, man. She had me up here admitting that I used to be a preacher and all that kind of stuff. But
I'm talking about being the way she was coming at you. I'm just like, okay.
Man.
Then she hit that other layer. I'm like, okay. I
was like, oh, my soul. My mama gonna like that interview if nobody else likes it.
She is. Yeah, I know my mama did. Y'all was like, that was good.
Oh, man, it was great. And I would love to have her back. But I'll try to be a little bit more prepared next time to not have my soul exposed for the entire world to see. That said, let me go to an area I feel a little bit more comfortable discussing on air. I'm totally ecstatic about this next guest, Brandon Brooks. He is the founder of Inventrify, which helps small businesses and entrepreneurs crowdfund. I found out about him on Twitter, and I was just listening to his conversations about some of the inequities and challenges for minorities to get funding. And I wanted to have him on the show. Brandon, thank you so much for joining us. How are you this morning?
I'm fantastic, and thank you for having me. It's my absolute pleasure to be here today.
The pleasure is ours. First and foremost, could you tell the audience a little bit about yourself as well as Inventrify?
Yeah, so absolutely. So my name is Brandon Brooks, Pittsburgh born and raised. I'm not a college grad. I always throw that out there from the beginning so that people can understand that, you don't have to be a college graduate to get involved into this world. You guys might see my cat in the background. I'm a cat lover, have a few of them. He's chilling, hanging out with me today because our office is under renovation in the house. So, Inventrify is a crowdfunding platform for small businesses to raise the capital to start or grow their business. And we really started out of necessity because I come from the banking world, and I saw a lot of people were taking out loans to get their businesses started. I saw a lot of people were taking out like home equity loans, and it just didn't seem right. So I, got a GoFundMe request one day. Somebody's cat needed surgery, funny enough. And somebody had sent me that request. And I said, well, really, why aren't we doing this on a larger scale for small businesses or the community-oriented businesses? And that's kind of when Inventrify was born.
And in the conversations that I was privy to on Twitter, you really pointed out that the disparities, and the one that got my attention the most was the conversation about the friends and family round of funding, and how it is just totally different for Black people as they try to get funding from friends and families because of the wealth disparities in this country. Could you speak to that for a second?
Yeah, absolutely. So that gets into the venture capital world, which is something that I'm getting a little bit more involved in, and more recently outside of just small businesses. And so a friends and family round is, hey, I want to start, a tech company. I want to start something. Let me hit up my friends and family before I go the venture capital route. Let me say, hey, you have, $5,000, $10,000 for me to go ahead and get some funding, to start this business. And it's funny. I laugh because if I, when I was starting my company, if I would have went to my mom and said, hey, can I get like, $5,000, $10,000, I probably wouldn't be here today. She would have probably took me out. You know what I mean? For even asking for that much money. It's just realistically. So, but then when you look at it, a lot of these other, especially white families in this country, I have friends or know people that have gotten 50,000, 100,000 from their friends and family to start their businesses. And you just think of the leg up that is. And so I think the stat that I posted was, the average white family net worth in this country, somewhere around 175,000. And the average Black family net worth in this country is somewhere around $17,150. So, a lot of these VCs will tell people from the beginning, go out and do a friends and family round before you approach us or you come to us. That way you can get a little traction. And the reality is Black founders, Black entrepreneurs don't have that as an option. It's just not because of, our average net worth versus a white family that can go and, hit up their friends, family network for $20,000 checks.
Mm. Yeah. And that simply, for so many Black people that doesn't exist. And most, I can't say most, but many Black families, you have almost the reverse, where you have children who are taking care of their parents financially. And then in some cases, you do have parents who are actually providing for their children, but there's a great inability to provide the kind of resources necessary for ideas to get off the ground. And so is that where in VentureFi comes? I know there's differences in the structure of venture capitalists versus crowdfunding, but have you begun addressing that issue within VentureFi?
So we have a separate project that we're currently working on. We haven't officially launched it, but it is going to address that problem directly. We are looking at, the potential or possibility of our own fund to help fund these people. And, just the reality of venture capital as a whole, I think everybody knows the numbers. Less than 2.6% goes to Black founders. A small percentage goes to women founders. An even smaller percentage goes to Latina founders. And that's something that we're going to look to address directly and head on. I mean, because I think a lot of people put out great statements last year after the George Floyd protests and after the George Floyd murder. I think a lot of people started putting out great statements that, hey, we want to do more. But the reality is the numbers actually went down after that. I think for women founders, it went down something like 23% less, even though the number of venture capital went up last year. So more venture capital was given out last year, but the number that went to founders like myself or the number that went to women founders went down pretty significantly. So that's something that we have to address, and it has to be directly. It has to be, hey, we're not going to lightly touch this subject. We need to have the uncomfortable conversations and start getting real capital in the hands of people that need it.
So it replicates what you're describing is replicating the same systemic issues that we see. Disparities, wealth disparities, yes. Disparities in health, we see that. Disparities just across the board as it breaks down for race, gender, ethnicity. So this might be a much broader question, but then to what extent can people actually look to even capitalism in general as a tool of liberation when the same exact problems that we face are replicated and then in some cases exacerbated in those fields?
So it's a great question. And so here, I think a lot of people look at capitalism in a very inefficient way. And so they see capitalism as the problem, or on the other hand, they'll see capitalism as the solution. And the answer is it's somewhere in between. It's not a problem, it's not a solution, but we have to use it to our advantage right now because let's be honest, none of us within the next 50 to 100 years are going to change the system that's in America. So another problem, let's look at venture capital again. There's very few VCs that are Black. There's very few VCs that are women, but those are the people that are giving out money, and you're more than likely to give money to people that look like you. So as soon as you get, so I think I cut out there. Yep. As soon as you get that funding in the hands of VCs that look like us, now we can go ahead and give it to people that look like us. And we can go ahead and do better about making sure that the right people are getting the funding instead of just going to everybody else. So we have to use these systems to our advantage, but it all starts with education. I just know so many people where I grew up that are within my network have no idea what VC is. And when I say it's something like Shark Tank, they're like, oh, okay, cool. But they don't think that that's even a possibility for them to not only receive it, but to get involved in the world. So that's something that we have to address, I think, quickly. And then we can start with other problems too. You know, the same thing with having more Black doctors. Black doctors are more careful with taking care of Black women throughout pregnancy. Those numbers are equally as terrifying as VC. So, you know, it's just, we have to get into the positions where we control the narrative, but we have to start with educating ourselves about the possibilities and potential that's out there. So, which is what I try to do on Twitter and my various other platforms.
Yeah. So, excuse me, maybe I'm not supposed to say what I'm getting ready to say, but I'm a socialist, and I do view capitalism as the problem, but I also realize the system that we're in is providing an obscene amount of wealth and resources to the various systems that we're having to fight against. For example, maybe I'm not supposed to talk about it, but I am. For example, you look at Facebook and you look at how Facebook is playing a detrimental role in society as more research comes out about and more reporting comes out about their algorithms and how they are tuned for extremism and how they take people down particular radicalization channels that lead to right-wing extremism. If there's going to be any hope for us in the future as a collective society, there's going to have to be pushback against these entrenched systems that are propped up initially by venture capital, right? So my question then will be, to what extent would this system even ever you couldn't possibly get funding, in my mind, for some of the ideas that are coming forward, because the ideas that are coming forward are direct challenges to the system. And I wonder if that's a bad assumption to make out of frustration, or have you in your research seen some of those, seen some of that? Some of the ideas that prop up, that come to the table, are just kind of direct challenges to the system. What have you seen in that regard?
So let me ask you this. Let me rephrase it. What if you were a VC? What ideas would you fund? Would you fund the ideas and the changes that you want to see?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's where it starts. That's what I'm talking about, working within the system to change it. We need people like you. We need people like me who see the problems, recognize the problems, and recognize the solutions that we want to help fund. So it starts with, let's get that funding. Let's work within the system that's currently in place while looking to change the system so that we can fund the ideas that we believe in.
Yeah. Put $1 billion in my hand and see what we do to this for the good of humanity. Brandon Brooks, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Tell everyone how they can get up with you and find out more about your work.
Yeah, so please follow me on Twitter @officialbbrooks. I'm always open to email and phone conversations, so you can check my Calendly link, which I also post on my Twitter. And emails brandonbrooks@inventrify.com. please check out some of the work that we're doing at Inventrify. There's some great campaigns up, and we're always welcoming more campaigns that are very community oriented. So thank you so much for having me. I appreciate all of you.
Hey, the pleasure is ours. James, take us to a quick break. When we come back, we'll have more Like It or Not.
Shout out to everybody that's checking us out this morning, y'all. Of course, like I said, we're going to get into some of this good music. Again, thank you so much, Brandon Brooks, for coming by today, Like It or Not.
Another sunny day in Southern California. It's where the people came to play. Don't let them transform you. Come and see what you've been missing on a little slice of heaven. It's the only place we're living. It's that West Coast point of view. Easy when it's always sometimes. You and I everything to do. Who cares?
Make sure that you hit that like button, y'all. Hit that like button. Comment and subscribe, y'all. Let's Like It or Not. Shout out to everybody that's on Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere you streaming from. My YouTube family as well, too. Shout out to the pride. Peter Low Frequency, I am planning on adopting a puppy very soon. I just got to fill out the application today.
It's all or nothing. It's all or nothing. No other signs. It's socialize. Come and see what you've been missing on a little slice of heaven. It's the only place we're living. It's that West Coast point of view. Easy when it's always sometimes. You and I
It's the shoulders. Ill Hustler, I appreciate you, Ill Hustler. Yeah, I want a puppy. A little piece of little thing just running around everywhere. Just don't want no cleanup, though. That's what I don't want, but it's okay. Oh, give me a little puppy.
Don't wanna be a one-man woman. Got me stranded like a boat in the sand. Just the
Y'all know I love my Motown.
of my wings drives
It's
me
pipe music.
crazy. Dressing up, fixing my strut. Always prepared.
Seven, sweetheart, I do want a husky,
Around the corner,
but I'm a diva too, so it still works, so it's okay.
Oh, I can sing, I can dance, I can learn to smoke.
What I really want is a French bulldog, but you know, the way that people are doing nowadays, I don't know if I need to get one.
Jump out on the stage, get locked up in a cage, director. Glitter and a touch of glamour. Wanna impress me, show me real amour. Flower curtains,
Mama, yes, you are babysitting. Thanks. My thing with a cat is it's like I want a cat, but I'm just like, cats are just jerks, man. Cats are huge jerks, and that's all I need is a cat to jump up on me while I'm in doing the show. He gonna jump all on the equipment, it's gonna mess up everything. I'm like, I can't do it. I'll take a puppy. He can't jump and do all that stuff, so I'm good.
I can dance, I can learn to smoke moves. I will do anything you ask me to do. Jump out on the stage, get locked up in a cage, director. Mr. Director, I will do anything you want me to do. Hey, Mr. Director, anything for you. I can sing, I can dance, I can sing,
I know I could never bring any pets over there, so it's okay. That's fine, Mama.
do anything you ask me to.
I know my other family will watch my puppy for me.
Jump out on the
Take it easy. I don't know. I think you're the only one with the problem. It might be your sister.
Oh, bring it on, director. I don't have down in California.
Oh, that started real slow.
Something to make me stay.
Goku, that was called Director.
Around forever searching for something I could never get.
That's a vibe, man. I like this one.
You to save me,
Ooh.
but I just really need to be
Okay.
saved.
I like this.
That's all right. Yeah.
So sick of waiting for any luck to
Okay.
come my way.
I like this. Welcome back to Like It or Not. Oh man, yeah, man. That's a bop, man. I want to play a couple of clips here, just to reset our palettes this morning. There's a video of a 6-year-old helping his little brother through a little, I don't know if it was a tantrum, but his brother, it's just absolutely refreshing. Take a look at this clip. And it's good, James. It's a good one. It's exactly what you're supposed to do when you have these kind of moments of crises. So I just, it's what I try to teach my kids to do this. So when I saw it, I was like, we absolutely got to take a look at it. Let's take a look at it. Oh. Look at this. See?
And it worked, dude.
And it always works. Well, not always, but it works. And I actually had to teach. I've been teaching my kids meditation and breathing techniques and all those things because they're little balls of emotion, right?
Yeah.
And they're just like, sometimes you're just flailing for a way to express the stuff that's happening on the inside of them. And so, when I saw this, I'm like, wow, that means somebody taught the older son how to do it. And now the older son is teaching the younger son how to do it. And so, I don't know. That was just a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah, it is. I ain't gonna say I wish my brother would have done that. My brother did do that. My brother was pretty good. My brother was my best friend growing up because we were in the middle. The boys were in the middle. The girls are on the end. So it's 4 of us. Older sister, older brother, myself, and my younger sister. So my brother and I, thick as thieves. Anything he did, I was going to do.
That's what's up. That's what's
so
up.
If he got a spanking, I was going to get a spanking. So, yeah. Mama didn't spank us. No, mama. I forgot to in the chat room. Shit.
Yeah, wait, no, and it's 2021. You can't pop them kids' legs no more. They call DCS. So.
Okay. Don't y'all call the people on my mama, okay? I'm a grown ass man now. She don't hit me no more, okay?
Speaking of grown, when you get certain kind of grown, you get cussed out. Ask Kirk Franklin. Yeah. I'm sorry. I know we talked about that yesterday. I would talk about that. I would talk about that every day. Oh my God. The way he cussed his son out there, I was like, wow. But he's a grown man.
Dude,
anyway.
He's a grown man. He deserved every bit of it too.
I just don't know what I don't want him to tell us what happened, but I'm just wondering, bro, what happened for you to go off on your kid like that? Boy, it's got to be something deep. Anyway, let's back on better news. On Sunday night, after it was announced that Tiffany Haddish became the 6th woman to win a Grammy for Best Comedy Album for Black Mitzvah, Tiffany Haddish posted this, it was a good moment on Twitter. She learned the news during the filming of the game show Kids Say the Darndest Thing with Tiffany Haddish. And I want us to take a look at this clip just to, again to cleanse our palate before we go into more news about American hypocrisy. Take a look at this.
Right. Me, I'm just happy with being nominated personally.
I've been nominated a couple of times.
You say what?
You've been nominated a couple of times.
Yeah, I've been nominated a couple of times for some things.
But I just
and
won
I
a Grammy.
I just what?
You just won a Grammy.
I just won a Grammy?
No.
Are you serious?
I'm not lying. I'm telling you the
I
truth.
mean, wait. Y'all see this thing in my ear? Y'all see this in my ear?
Tell them all you just won a Grammy. Congratulations. You just won the best comedy album.
Y'all serious?
I'm serious. There's no lie. This is for real.
I really won?
Woo.
You know, a black woman hasn't won in that category since 1986.
Yes, I learned that for Black History.
Yeah, black woman hasn't won for best comedy album since Whoopi Goldberg. Can I tell you why I'm crying?
Why?
It's a lot of bumpy roads that you cross, right? And it's a lot of times you feel like, well, am I doing the right thing? Is this good enough? Am I good enough? Am I strong enough to do this job? And then you just have to believe in yourself as much as you can. And against all odds, you just say, you know what? I'm gonna just put my best foot forward and I'm gonna give the world the best that I got, right? Mm-hmm. Anything is possible. So, thank you.
Well, I didn't expect that. Y'all trying to make me cry this morning, James. I didn't realize.
You're welcome.
I was who put that in a who
that
put
would
that
be
in
me,
a
Ben.
You put that in there?
Me. Yeah. And then that end part, I was like, what? Oh God.
Yeah. I'm gonna be honest with you, man. No, go ahead. You were about to say.
Oh, I was about to say, man, that Grammy night, it was a lot of first, man. It was a lot of history made. You know, Beyonce got her recognition. Then Tiffany got hers. You had her one song of the year. Megan Thee Stallion. Oh my
Nas.
Bro, if you haven't seen the performances, Ben,
I stay away from. I just the clips that they were on Twitter. Cardi B's crazy as she is talking about, she got flipped so hard she almost. Shout out to all of them. But that clip, man, I'm gonna tell you something, man. It is one of the most difficult things is realizing how broken our system is and how devastating it is for so many people across the world, across the globe, and understanding the context of our own privilege being people who are nice and safe inside of American empire. But damn it, we're human beings here too, right? Yeah. You know, we may not have solved the problem of war. We may not have solved the problem of exploitation, of capitalism exploiting us all across the globe. We may not have even put a dent in any of those things, but we're still human. And to see that human moment from Tiffany Haddish, you know, and the way she contextualized it, like, am I good enough? You know, we're all fighting in a system and we're fighting for our own individual survival. And, you know, when you contextualize that and say, you know, we're fighting for collective survival, then you see all of the problems in this world. You start, when you start doing more than just for yourself, you start seeing all of the issues. But then you think about like how this system breaks every individual. Think about all the criticisms that Tiffany Haddish gets that other comedians don't get. You know, I remember people were saying like she always does the same character over and over again. Well, hell, so does Kevin Hart. I mean, so does The Rock. I know he's not a comedian, but he's the same, you know, but it was levied against her in such a hurtful way that she started questioning her own self-worth. So, you know, and then you got other people who are going to say, oh, well, we don't want, you know, we don't even care about the recognition from the Grammys. Okay, good on you. That's fine. But for her, that meant something. And for her to have that real human vulnerability and admit and to share the fact that this system that she's successful in still broke her along the way. It was just breaking her every day, questioning her own self-worth because she's trying to survive in this system. I mean, I'm sorry. I think that was just one of the most touching things that I've seen in a long time, man. And James, next time you put something in there like that, you got to give me a heads up, man. Be like, it's one of those.
I got you. Yeah, it's one of those. It's a moment.
Especially after Dr. Jr. came on here and just said, your soul is mine. She came on here like saying, what's the name from Mortal Kombat? She came in like, you interviewing me? Watch this. Your soul is
mine.
She got me good. Now I'm all here like, you know, let me talk about something that's gonna make me mad. Let's do that because you know that's the normal feeling that I'm used to having feelings of anger and not good feelings. So I want to talk about the Kentucky State Senate passing a bill that would make it illegal to taunt police officers to the point where it could provoke a violent response. Bill SB 211 passed this past Thursday. The bill, sponsored by Senator Danny Carroll, claims the bill is in response to riots in Louisville last summer and on Capitol Hill earlier this year. The bill would make it a Class B misdemeanor, punishable by 90 days in prison if someone, quote, accosts, insults, taunts, or challenges a law enforcement officer with offensive or derisive words by gestures or other physical contact that would have a direct tendency to provoke a violent response from the perspective of a reasonable and prudent person. So in other words, they are making it illegal for you to say F the police, for you to say anything that could be interpreted by what they call a reasonable and prudent person as provoking. Now, to what extent this law is actually going to be upheld, if it's signed into law, is extremely questionable. However, the challenges have to go through our judiciary. And when you consider that it has been stacked by Donald Trump over the past 4 years with innumerable numbers of conservatives, it's quite possible that a law like this, while it will be challenged, will be upheld because of the conservative bent of the judiciary on the federal level, as well as in Kentucky State. The problem that I have with this is clear and it's obvious. The problem is that there's even more effort being made to solidify the grip that the police state has on this country, to the extent where now you can't call a police a pig. Well, where I'm from, you call a thing, right? And where you can't challenge the police officers, because at any point, a police officer who is considered to be a reasonable and prudent person, okay, anytime they feel that way, you could be charged. So this is a direct attack on our freedom of speech. This is a direct attack on our freedom of assembly. It's a direct attack on our ability to voice everything that we see wrong with this country. The question that has to be asked, and is certainly, where are all the free speech advocates, all of the free speech absolutists, all the people who say that this is that we're suffering from cancel culture? The fact of the matter is this is probably the very best example of cancel culture, when you cannot say something without the possibility of you being arrested and imprisoned because of what you said. But you're not going to find those people speaking out about this, because as we've seen time and again, they only care about cancel culture when it's canceling conservatism. They only care about cancel culture when it is standing up on behalf of marginalized groups. They absolutely have no problem with infringing on our free speech, because they never wanted us to have it in the first place. They never wanted us to be able to directly challenge this system in the first place. But here we are with laws and legislation being passed that is a direct affront to our liberties, a direct affront to our freedom of speech. James, let's go to a real quick break. When we come back, we have a couple more stories to get through, more likely than not, after this.
Driving around in California, looking for something to make me stay. Round and round forever searching.
Y'all make sure that y'all hit that like button, hit that like button, hit that like button, comment, subscribe, share, all that good stuff, y'all. It's like it or not. And if you want to become a patron, you can. You can get exclusive content and ad-free content and be a part of the patron parties, y'all. Patreon.com/the BPD Show. Patreon.com/the BPD Show, y'all. Let's get it.
Feel good, be good, stay good, and live good. If I could feel good, I'd live good.
odd person. I run in dark circles. I would love a long life, cause I love how life's worthless. I'ma paint purple, cause blue's overrated. We all outdated.
Martin says I appreciate it. Yeah, it is.
Love like
Hold on, let me show you.
It's a dark place when it's all about the paper. Counting pretty cards before they deal you something heinous. I've been steady sitting on my assists. I'm so contemporaneous, in love with my behavior. But really, I could probably try and be something greater. Good, I'm my favorite. You could tell me something different, but I probably wouldn't listen. No, I probably wouldn't listen. The word, that's the ego. Scared it's taking over. But fuck it if it's fun to run my tongue up on these road fronts. But I know I could lose it.
Boo boo, this is called Feel Good by Panda Raps.
Don't need you to save me, but I just really need to be saved. And just don't seek away for any luck to come my way. Yeah.
Sensation, what's going on?
Be good, stay good, be good. I could feel good, live good, die good. Lingering inside my space.
Nick, I appreciate that. Don't make me blush.
How you going live when you look me in my eyes and you show me your facade? Show me your facade. How you going live when you look me in my eyes and you show me your facade? Show me your facade. You a lie. You a front. You say anything long as you get what you want. Tryna play me like a fool. Homie, I am not a clown. It ain't nothing but a game, cause all you do is mess around. Now I'm on the verge of a meltdown. Meltdown. I should've known when I met her back at Midtown. At Dogwood when I was going through a rough patch, but it's all good.
Zafilla is Panda Raps. Panda Raps.
When we was driving off of I-10 in Kirkwood. Now all that time I never get it back. You wanted that. Used to hate when I didn't wanna hang. I noticed that. Used to talking about your ex, Jake, with your next Jack. Used to messing with them white boys. Now she went black. Wait a minute. Guess you went and got yourself a real life. Got yourself some booty shots and lip filler. You just wanna make a rapper beat like Dilla. You ain't the nice radiators. Cause up close, baby, you a ghost. You a demon, and you should float. Get out the way and just go, and just go, and just float. How you going live when you looking in my eyes and you say you down for the cause, but you really here for the ride? You ain't really feeding no sheep. You're a K9 in disguise. Should've never gave you nothing but a funky high five. I know we can't go back in time, but I wish I could rewind and get back all that money that I spent every nickel and dime. Cause you a lie. Oh, you a front. You gon' say anything as long as you get what you want. When you got yourself a new man, it ain't even been a month. I feel sorry for your boo, cause he don't know what he signed up for. Do he? Ooh, yeah, I heard that you met him at the bar, Louis. Okay, don't try to do him like you tried to do me, baby. You a cold-blooded killer like Stu. Cause up close, baby, you a ghost. You a demon, and you should float. Get out the way, and just go, and just go, and just float.
Just give it
float
up.
Like a balloon,
I'm not your girl, and I never will be. Don't call me up. Don't waste your time, cause I'll be your enemy. If you want love, look somewhere else. Heal for nothing. Just give it up. I'm not your girl, cause I only love me. Don't get me wrong. You and I could have fun together when I feel done.
Shout out to everybody that's in the chat rooms. Y'all make sure that y'all are hitting that like button.
To care for yourself, not rely on somebody else. So don't get me wrong. I'm just riding alone. Just walk away, cause I got no intentions of hanging out with you tonight. Don't look my way. If you want a problem, I'll give you a problem, alright? If you want love, just give
Angela, I love it. I appreciate that.
This is my time. I'm feeling good. Rule every party. See how I shine when I'm alone. Nothing can stop me. You should go out, meet someone else.
That's my reggae dance, y'all.
Don't stick around. I'm pretty wild. I don't do monogamy. Don't get me wrong.
Welcome.
Wow.
That is an amazing picture of you.
Whoa. Wow.
I felt like I was in the Matrix or something. I don't know what was.
You and me both, dude. Did I take the red or the blue pill?
You took the gray pill on that one.
I took the gray pill, bro.
That was amazing. It's so funny. Shout out to our technical director. Like we just being extra. We just having fun this morning. Don't pay us any attention. Just like this next story. This next story is probably my favorite story that I think I have ever covered that's non-political. There's a stolen 400-pound slide that was mounted to a bed. A Washington State man is facing charges after he allegedly stole a 400-pound slide from a playground and mounted it on a bunk bed for his children in his home. There's the image on your screen now. Detective Julie Lee of the Pasco Police Department in Washington State said was investigating a series of catalytic converter thefts when evidence led her to Dustin Bushnell's home. Bushnell allegedly sawed off the slide, repainted it, and mounted it on a bunk bed in a child's bedroom at his mobile home. How the hell he got that in a mobile home, I have no idea. Catalytic converters were also found in the home, but Bushnell has not yet been charged with stealing the car parts. James, I kind of like admire this guy's commitment to his children. So in one way, I think he should get Father of the Year award. Yeah. In another way, he might also get Bumpkin of the Year award, because how the hell did you get that entire slide inside of a trailer? That's aggressive. So
this sounds like to me that, he's one of those parents that's hard on their luck and everything. His child wanted something fun, so he went and topped up the playground slide. Because I would have got the plastic one, bro. That looks like the heavy duty ass slide.
Yeah, like that's some legit. Shout out to him though, because you know what? Well, I was about to advocate for taking stuff, but anyway, listen. I don't want to go too far and get written off completely. You would expect this from a Florida man, but this is all the way on in Washington State. But I kind of salute him for loving his kids to the extent that he took. How did nobody notice it? He's sitting there at the park.
Did he do that by himself?
By himself, he must have done it at night, because otherwise they're going to see him carrying a big behind metal slide that he painted blue. And it's not even on the, I'm trying to see, I'm looking at the picture. It's not even on the bunk bed. It looks like it's going out the window.
I thought too big.
Bruh. This is great. Hey, don't charge this man with anything. What's his name? I'm going to get his name. Bushnell. Free Bushnell, right? Hashtag free Bushnell. Do not, this is innovative. This is a good father who is looking out for the joy of his children during the pandemic, right? He's doing what he's got to do. So I salute that brother. James, that's all I got for this morning, man. I'm going to leave you with the rest of the time to jam with the people. What you think?
Yes, I'm cool with that, man. This man must be skilled, because if he also has been taking catalytic converters, you know that is on the car, dude.
Right.
That man's a professional, bro.
He's a professional thief, bro. Shout out to him. That skill set is admirable, my man. No judgment from me whatsoever. You know what I mean?
None
as
at
much
all.
as the system has taken from us, that's all I'm going to say before I get in trouble. Tomorrow, Rebecca will be back. James, it's in your hands. I'm going to go get some tea.
Brother.
All right, man. We'll see everybody tomorrow. Take care. You too, man.
All right, y'all. Y'all got me until 10:30. We'll get y'all some Get Grooves on and get y'all through y'all morning, y'all. Let's go. Like it or not, DJ exclusive.
Tell me what it is. What you want from me. What you want from me. Tell me what it is, don't tell me what it ain't. They try to throw salt, it just made the pressure raise. Going through a phase, gotta get myself out it. Don't talk about it, boy, they said you gotta be about it. So I be trying to face the world head on. Front seat riding, cruising down the meadows. Pedal to the meadow, cool breeze blowing down the windows. Calm trees, blowing trees, get that boy some hedgeroom. On the interstate in traffic, but I swerve out. What's the moves for the night? What's the word now? What's the links? Hit me up, we could go now. I got hella pieces, she got hella features. Jimmy hella geeked up, she be blowing shisha. Reefer on me loud, hope them boys don't creep up. I don't know a thing if you do not speak up. In my own world, I don't try to keep up. Tell me what you want. Don't be trying to front like I ain't what you want.
Make sure that y'all hit that like button, y'all. Make sure that y'all hit that like button, whatever platform that you're streaming from. And also make sure that if you want to become a Patreon, you can support the show. Patreon.com/the BPD show. Patreon.com/the BPD show. Let's get it.
Shorty wanna be a rider, and I'm feeling high, I can't deny it. She a bad joint named Maya, and when I seen her, man, she looked fire. She got me feeling higher than the sour, so I'm trying to feel how I feel inside her. I asked her what she doing, she like nada. So she just chill, I'm about to get up in the shower. I said, alright, cool, I'ma be there in an hour. I just wanna live like a Kuna and Matata. I ain't got no time for no baby mama drama. All about my comments, my letters, no tomatoes. Always bragging what they got up in they wallet. Ain't no really telling if we let us see tomorrow. Get it on my own, I ain't really trying to bar. So I stay fly, gotta dress up in designer.
I believe in you, me, you, me, you, me, you, me, yeah. I believe in you, me, you, me, you, me, you, me, yeah. Take it for a lifetime underneath the moonlight, 'cause I don't want us to go. No, I don't want us to go. Yeah, you could be my lifeline, you could be my sunshine. In a world so full of pain, can you make it go away?
Leslie K, you're quite welcome, man. Thank you for watching, tuning in. Thank you, everybody, for watching and tuning in this morning, y'all.
But now I know you're the answer to my prayer. You and me must be right. Something's in the air, I can feel it now. You and me must do something right. We can't get enough of us. You and me every night, aiming for the stars with the love so bright. You and me must do something right. Baby, I believe in us.
Take it easy. You're quite welcome, sir. Thank you. I said, sir, I'm sorry. I know you, man. No, we left. Take it easy. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I'm sorry for the burden. Sorry I was hurting. But my scars are almost healed. Yeah, my scars are almost healed. Yeah, I'm feeling like a child now. Everything's alright now. And it's all because of you. You made the flower in me bloom. Used to be afraid of everything, but now there's no more fear. Yeah, I used to let nobody in and hide my face with tears. Always thought of you as someone who can love someone like me. But I was wrong, baby, now I believe. You and me must be right. Something's in the air, feel it now. You and me must be something right. We can't get enough of us. You and me every night, aiming for the stars with the love so bright. You and me must be something right. Baby, I believe in us.
Count the loot, call the troops coming through from the booth to the moon. That's the route, what it do? It's the same ones around me, no recruits. Stay down when it's cloudy, not a sun. I just want the cheese like where the Packers be. Never move out what's a
Yeah, thank you so much. Have a good morning, y'all.
If you had ever turned your back on me, heard you got that bag, well, I must have a hefty guy on me. Yeah, count up the loot, count it up. Call up the troops, we coming through, we coming through, we coming through. Count up the loot, count it up. Call up the troops, we coming through, we coming through, we coming through. Stacking my chips with the dip. I jump like a running back, my hit shit.
This is a requested song, y'all, that somebody asked me to play. So this is Angel Among Us by Vincent Vega for my mother who asked for me to play it. Can't deny mama when she asks you to play something now.
Oh,
It's like the world is on our side. Nothing can bring me down tonight. And ooh, baby, when we're together, you and I, your touch sends chills down my spine. Alright, yeah. I got a brand new love. Take me away, girl, to a new level, new level. It's 7 on earth, on earth. I found an angel. I found an angel. Come on us. Found an angel. Ooh, baby. People would travel far and wide just to see how your halo shines so bright. Ooh, baby, did you fall from paradise? Wherever we go, I'm on cloud 9, so high. Yeah. I got a brand new love. You take me away, girl, to a new level, new level. It's 7 on
Nick Wright. Suck will break all the furniture in the house.
I found my angel. Come on. I found my angel. Found my angel. I got a brand new love. You take me away, girl, to a new level, new level. It's 7 on
Try not to sing in this microphone because I was trying to scare nobody away. All right, ladies and gentlemen, non-gender conforming individuals. Hey, angel. That is going to do it for your boy James Bubba Williams, better known as DJ Exclusive. Y'all remember how the DJs just talk on the music at the end like this? Yeah, we're just going to smooth it out right now. Welcome to the wonderful sounds of... No, I'm just playing. Anyway, y'all, hope y'all enjoyed the show today. Shout out to everybody that came through, all of our guests, man. It was excellent. Had a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful show. Make sure that y'all hit that like button, share, subscribe, so you know when Like It or Not is going down. And as usual, your boy DJ Exclusive is out, and we will see y'all in the morning. Mwah. Deuces. Like it or not, we out.